Good morning from day 9 of my section. Just left camp a couple minutes ago. It was an interesting night. So yeah, like I said in the last video about, I would have to guess 25 Boy Scouts plus a handful of adults showed up at 5:30 last night to the shelter, for some reason expecting to have a spot big enough to set up. I don't know how many tents they ended up having in total. I'd say at least 15 tents. And if anyone knows Manassas Gap Shelter, you know that is most certainly not the shelter to be expecting to do that. So the level of research was not there that you would expect from a Boy Scout troop. They actually did go to sleep around like 8:30, and once I put my earplugs in, I couldn't really hear anything all night. I was mostly concerned about like their food storage method and how neat and tidy they were, and like I know they were doing dishes, so like where were they dumping that water? And also I doubt that they were like going to the bathroom far enough away from the water source. So I was happy I filled up water before they got there, and I'll get water somewhere else along the way today. But no bears came in last night. I did hear that they hung stuff, although I think they literally just hung like hefty trash bags on the bear pole. But at least they hung things. Anyway, I've got like 10 miles today. This is the last day of my trip, so I'm hiking to a parking lot. Jordan is probably just arriving right now to that parking lot. He's going to hike in and meet me along the trail. If I get to Jim and Molly Denton's shelter before we've crossed paths, then I'm just gonna sit and chill there and wait for him there. That way he has at least a 10-mile round trip hike, because that's about my halfway point for the day. Which is fine, because I wanted to check that shelter out anyway, and it's right on trail. So I will check in with you at some point. But yeah, I am going to do a little follow-up about my goals and what I feel. So I'll be back to do those later. Bye. All right, so my first goal that I had for this trip was to test out my gear and assess my physical fitness. And I would say I'm pretty happy with both. Gear-wise, I don't know that I would have changed anything. The only thing that I did end up changing yesterday was my dirty water reservoir. So I was using all the other days the Ceanoc Vesica collapsible water bottle to collect my dirty water in, and then I would screw on my Catadine Be Free onto that and filter water from there, which was great. I love that that water bottle has a screw cap, so that way I can still carry water or have water in my tent without the filter attached to it, so I can put the filter like in my sleeping bag at night when it's cold, you know. But I did notice that it was like leaking a little bit, and it was a little worrisome because I didn't know whether the water that was leaking had gone through the filter or if it was coming out from the bottle and hadn't gone through the filter. So I didn't want that water dripping into like my drinking water. So I was thinking maybe it was the bottle and not the filter itself. So I tried the filter on the Catadine 1 liter pouch that it comes with, because I did bring that as a backup, and I had no leaking issues with it. So I think that there just might be like a slight mismatch with the threading or the size of the Ceanoc Vesica and the Catadine. So that's one thing I think I'll change, is I might get rid of that Ceanoc and or I'll probably bring it, but I'll have it as a backup in case I need to do a longer water carry, but I won't filter from it. I didn't get to trial my 30-degree quilt on this trip because I needed to bring my 10, which I'm very glad I did. But I did get to trial my Sea to Summit silk cotton liner, which is like my, I guess, summer liner. I brought both my fleece liner and that liner, so that way I had both options depending on what the temperature was. Obviously I wouldn't do that on a through hike, but I used the thinner liner a couple of the nights that it was going to be cool, warmer, and I liked it. I did get tangled up in it pretty easily though, so but I do think it gave me a little bit extra warmth and coziness, especially since I use a quilt, and otherwise I'd be sleeping right on my pad on the bottom. So I do like it. I think my biggest question at this point is, what quilt liner option do I start the trail with in Katahdin? Because even on the 50-degree overnights, I was a little bit chilly at times, even in my 10-degree quilt. So gotta figure that out. And physical fitness wise, I'm actually really happy with how well I did, considering my only workouts that I've done for the last 5 months was a once weekly hike with my fully loaded backpack. That's all I've been doing the last 5 months because of working the 2 jobs. So I'm really happy with how well I did. You know, there were 2 days that I did 16-mile days, and I didn't feel too trashed after it. Some of the uphills, you know, did kill me, but that's gonna be the case, I think, always for me. And I was to camp pretty early most days, and I was able to maintain like over 2.5 mile pace on average, I would say, for the whole trip. And there's one day that I dropped below that, and that was that second day of the roller coaster, when I was just feeling a little bit trash, I guess. So I'm really happy with my physical fitness, and I'll continue to train. Now that I'm only working 1 job, I'm going to get in the gym and start really dialing that in. So I think it'll only go up from here, which I'm very happy about. All right, so my second goal that I had set was to practice being more present and intentional while I was hiking, rather than just worrying about cranking out the miles and getting where I was going as fast as possible. And I'm happy to say that I think I did a pretty good job at that. You know, when I'm going uphill, sometimes I am just like, I just got to get through this. So I do kind of put my head down and crank out miles, but I do think I did a good job otherwise. So I would like stop and like look at some of the plants and use my Seek app to identify some flowers and trees and mushrooms. And I stopped and took some breaks. And even sometimes going uphill, like I knew, okay, like I could just crank this out and be uncomfortable, or I can tell myself to break once or twice while going up it. And I did that. And like I said earlier, there were many days that I got to camp really early. Like I'm talking like 12:30, 1:30. And prior me would have been like, oh, I can keep hiking and I can get further today. And I would have ended up hiking 16 or 18 miles because it was still early. Whereas on this trip, I was like, okay, I got here early. This was my plan. I have a reason for this plan, and I'm going to set up camp and just relax and stretch and lay down. And that's another thing I did, was stretch a little bit more than I normally would have. So I think I did really good with trying to be intentional and present and just take in my surroundings a little bit more, and not just focus on making miles. All right, so I think my third goal that I had set was to make sure I even still wanted to thru hike. And to be honest with you, completely honest with you, that is still TBD. This might bring me some hate and some mean comments, but I'm uncertain. I had a good time, I guess, and I know that this experience out in April, you know, before there's really other thru hikers around, and the thru hikers that there are going the opposite direction as me, so I know that like I would have a different experience probably going southbound from Katahdin, where I'd have other Sobo thru hikers around me, at least for that first half. And I'd also have the Nobo hikers that are in the Northeast too at the same time. So I know I'd be surrounded by more people, more thru hikers, and it would be a different experience. I am ready to go home today. Like very excited to go home. So I have some thinking to do. Where I'm at right now, and like I said, obviously I still have thinking to do, but where I'm at right now is that I definitely think I want to try, and set out at Maine with the intention of thru hiking, but also with being completely okay with calling it when and where I need to call it, and just do a long section. So it's a very fluid thing, and I'm not gonna be one of those people again that's like thru hike or bust. I just want to be out and have fun and enjoy my time and do as much as I can. So that's where I'm at with that goal. All right, I feel like I had another goal that I mentioned in the video before, but I don't know what that was right now. I'd have to go back and look. But one of the other goals I did have that I didn't mention in that video was I wanted to decide whether or not I wanted to vlog my hike. And I wanted to vlog this trip just to see how it felt, see if I still liked doing it. Obviously, vlogging has pros and cons, and not vlogging has pros and cons. I just had to decide, you know, what pros and cons I feel more strongly about. And, you know, I don't know. I don't really want to vlog anymore, I don't think. But I'm open to maybe trialing doing like a weekly vlog instead of daily. And maybe I'll like that better. Maybe that will be a little bit more manageable for me and enjoyable. Because doing daily vlogs, I feel like sometimes I have to just like film stuff that just to have content to have a long enough video. Or like if I'm not in the mood, or like, you know, like yesterday I was listening to a book and I just really didn't want to stop to take the time to vlog. So that's where I'm at with that. You might see my vlogs still happen daily. They might go to weekly. We'll see. one major climb of 2 done for the day. Have not run into Jordan yet. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to the shelter first and then sees that I'm not there and keeps coming. So I feel like any moment I could really run into him at this point. It's like my body knows today is the last day and is just shutting down on me. Man, that last climb, it was a steep one. I was huffing and puffing up it. But the next climb, the last climb, is more gradual, not nearly as steep, spread out over more miles, so should feel a little easier. 3.71 miles done for the day. Total on the day is like 10.1 or something like that. So, getting there. Alright, I am 1 mile till the shelter. Still haven't crossed paths with Jordan, so either he's waiting there or I'm faster than I think today. But we start going uphill a little bit until I hit the shelter, but I plan on taking a little sit break at the shelter and hanging out for 10-15 minutes. But left for the day, I think it was like 6 point something when I just checked. Yeah, nice little brook coming up. All right, uphill we go. All right, so I ran into Jordan. He made it like a mile past the shelter, just like I thought he would. But we are back up at the shelter now.
My name's Whipsnake.
Oh yeah, Whipsnake, not Jordan. Let's walk down to the shelter. Where's the sign? And see what it's like. All right. Here's the shelter. Oh wow. This is crazy nice. Picnic pavilion. There's a shower over there. Horseshoes. Bear pole. Privies down there. And then this cool little porch with stone steps. And a nice big Adirondack chair. There's a wasp flying around.